We often spend more time fixing the bugs than writing the actual code. So let's get better at it. So in this video, we are going to debug a simple C program step by step together. So first, I will show you the program with bugs, so you can always pause the video at any point and try to debug it yourself before I actually dive into the code. So this is the program we need to debug, and this is the task. So here the task is clearly stated what the program is supposed to do, the expected output versus what the program is actually doing, the actual output, what we are getting. So before we start debugging, I highly recommend you to try it yourself. I have uploaded both the program file and the text file, this task.txt file in the GitHub, so you can find the links down below. So try it yourself before I start. I hope you try to find the bugs. So before we start, let's have a quick look at the task. So the program is supposed to take the input of 3 subject marks, calculate the total and the average, and the program has to print them. So the program will ask like this: enter marks for 3 subjects. And if we enter 50, 60, 75, it has to print the appropriate total and the average of those marks. But what the program is actually doing is, if we enter the marks like this, we're getting some garbage numbers as total marks and average marks. So we need to resolve those issues. So let's start from the main function. Here we can see 3 variable declarations. One is marks of 3, so it can hold marks of 3 subjects, total, which is defined as int, and then average, which is declared as a float. After declaring the variables, the program is asking us to enter marks for 3 subjects and then scanning all 3 marks from 0 to 2 into those indexes of marks array. Then our program is calculating the total and the average with the help of these functions. So the calculate total function, it's passing marks as marks and 3 as the arguments, and for calculate average functions, it's passing the total written by the calculate total function and the 3 as the number of subjects. Then we are printing with help of %e and %2f because average is a float. So far so good in the main function. Let's actually see what this program is printing for the input, for example this input. Let's run it. Let's give the same input as 50, 60 and 75. So you can see, as the program stated, we are getting some garbage values. It seems like our main function doesn't include any bugs. So let's jump into the calculate total function and what it is actually doing. So the logic inside the calculate total function is simple. It's declared a single variable, total, and then loop through all the marks, and then it's returning as the total. So inside the loop, it's just adding marks of I on each run, on each loop iteration. It's adding to the total. Total equals total plus marks. So if you're not sure about what we are actually adding, you can always print those marks of I on each one because we are getting a wrong total. Let's print it. So on each iteration, let's print the value of marks of I. And let's give a new line at the end of the loop. Now let's run it. Let me compile and run the program again. Now it's asking us, so let's say 10, 20 and 35. So if you can see here, Apart from 10, 20 and 35, we are adding a huge negative number to our total at the end. So it probably means we are iterating over the array more than what we should do. So we should add only these 3 marks, but we are adding this extra one. So let's see what's wrong with it. So if you have a close look at this condition, it's defined as I less than or equal to size, which means the index can grow as large as the value of size, which is 1 greater than what we should access. So let's quickly change it to less than. Because our index values start from 0, we should only loop until I less than size, not I less than or equal to size. So hope this fixes our problem. Let's compile again. Let me clear the screen for you and run again. It's asking us to enter the marks. Let's say 20, 30 and 45. Now you can see we are adding only the expected values and the total is also right, 95. But 95 over 3 is not exactly 31. So there is another problem with our calculate average function probably. So let's try to do the same. Let's try to print the value of what we are returning from the calculate average function. So let's say printf %, probably a new line, before and after. Oops. So let's print the value of total divided by subject, the number of subjects. And because we are trying to return as a float, let's give it a float format specifier. Now let's run the program again and print the output. It seems like we got a warning. So it's saying format %f expects an argument of type double, but the argument 2 has type int. It basically means both of our total and subjects both are integers. So you can change one of your variables to float, or you can cast it temporarily here. Let me show you. So if you say float here, now we have casted our total variable to a float. I have a typo. To a float. Now this will be a floating point division instead of an integer division. Let's try to compile and run again. Let's say 10, 30 and 45. Yeah, now you can see we got 31.666 as the output. Let's change it for, instead of here, let's remove this debug line. So let's add the float casting to our total variable. If you want, you can even add it to the subjects. It doesn't matter. All we need to make sure is at least one of our variables is floating point number. So let's run it one more time. Compile and run it. Let's enter some random marks again. We are getting the total marks and average marks. Congratulations, those are the 2 bugs we have fixed. So whenever you are trying to access all the elements in an array or trying to modify them, just make sure you're not accessing elements outside the size. Also, when dividing 2 integers, cast them, at least one of them, into float, so you get that floating point division instead of default integer division. And that's it for today's debugging lesson. I hope you have learned something out of it.